Hello everyone, I'm Brayathorn. Welcome to the channel, and if you've been here before, you may have actually used the information you found here to score yourself a sweet pre-built PC, or maybe a custom-built PC just for you. So if that's the case, I kind of want to go over a few things here. We actually had I had the video before last month where it was, hey, you got your PC, here's how to set it up. But there are a few things that I didn't cover there, and those, they're things you don't want to do, things you want to avoid. And this is coming from me I've worked with PCs for a long time. I mean, some of these I've learned from personal experience. Some of them are actually things that I've gotten from the community and things that I didn't think might be something a lot of people would do, but I've heard it several times. So I want to go over a few things, and it's going to be 5 things you don't want to do when you get your brand new pre-built PC. Now, since we get a list of 5 things that you shouldn't do with your new pre-built PC, because lists are cool and the internet likes them, I want to talk about another place where I found a list of 5 things, and actually the sponsor of this video, which is Skillshare. Now, Skillshare is an online learning community for the creative and curious. They have thousands of courses, many of which are less than 60 minutes long, and they're adding more and more every single day. And they're great for when you have a busy schedule, you need to just get something in, you want to learn something new, you want to find a new hobby or learn about the hobby you already have. Skillshare is fantastic for that, and it is a thriving community where learning is key. So there's no ads in these classes. The class that I wanted to talk about is actually something that has a lot to do with what I've been doing recently. You might find that I've changed a lot of my branding, my avatar, my banners, stuff like that. And this class actually resonated a lot with that. And it's called Find Your Style, 5 Exercises to Unlock Your Creative Identity. And it's by a person with probably the best name in the world, Andy J. Pizza, who's an illustrator, designer, and podcaster. Now, one part of this class that really resonated with me was exercise 2, which is find your patterns, because I realized that there's a lot of design elements that I really like. And it actually shows you how to sort these things out, your own personal patterns, the things that you like, the things that you do, so that you can find your own style. It's a great class, and I suggest you check it out. And you can do that because the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So get down there, click the link, and get started today. Now, that's something you should do. Let's get on to the things that you shouldn't do. Now, let's start with number 5. This is actually something I've covered several times before. I've mentioned it before, and I want to reiterate this. Do not throw away the packaging. Don't throw away the box that the PC comes in. Now, there's sometimes an outer box that you can get rid of. That's totally fine. But the PC is usually packed in the box for the case itself. And that box and the styrofoam in it that keep everything in place is perfectly shaped to hold your PC, obviously. So if you're going to be moving or even shipping it back for an RMA, that's another important one there, you're going to want to have that box so that you can send it safely or move it safely. And it sounds kind of silly saying it out loud, but there's a lot of people who really do just throw away everything. Just get rid of cardboard. Recycling is great, and that's awesome. But the best recycling is continuing to use it for the purpose which it was intended. So that's number 5 right there. It's a pretty simple one. Now let's move on to number 4. And number 4 is pretty important, actually. Extremely important. Don't just plug it into the wall. I mean, that you need electricity. You're gonna plug it into something. But don't just plug it into a standard outlet. There are options for this. This is a very delicate electronic device. Now, there are fail-safes in the power supply, things like that, if you have power surge. But if you're brand new to PCs, swapping out a power supply can be a bit of a daunting task. So you don't want to put yourself at risk of having to do that. So what you want, at minimum, a surge protector, something that actually is a grounded surge protector. And that's, it's going to have a little light on it that says it's grounded, that it's safe and everything. That's the bare minimum. What that protects you from is power surges. What that does not protect you from is power outages. The best thing to do for your brand new PC, this investment that you made, that you want to use for years. Oh boy. This is a UPS, or an uninterruptible power supply. And this right here has a large and very heavy and more importantly, replaceable battery inside. The point of this is to continuously provide power once it stops receiving power. And it can do so for anything like 15 minutes to an hour, depending on the wattage that's being used at the time. So, I gotta tell you, if you have a power outage, don't just say, cool, I can still game. No, you should shut down your PC properly and then, shut this down, and then you're good. This has done its job. But this really helps protect also from any kind of power fluctuations, and it conditions the power too. So you're getting the cleanest power possible to your baby. They are a bit of an investment, but spending $150 on something like this or $100 on something like this is well worth it. Something like this will take care of you, and make sure that you can shut it down properly and make sure that you don't lose any data or any hardware, which is really worst case scenario there. Get out of here, you're way too heavy. Number 3 is 2 words. 2 words. No floor. Modern case design has your power supply on the bottom with its intake fan facing down, and you'll usually have about maybe half an inch of space between that. If you sit this thing on some carpet, that means the carpet is just pushed right up against that intake, and you're gonna have issues with your power supply, to say the least. Even if it's a hardwood floor or some kind of tile floor, something like that. Well, there's this little thing called gravity. And gravity takes all the nasty dust and pet fur and just stuff in the air and settles it down, which will just drift right under your PC and get sucked up like a vacuum. So even though there's usually some kind of filter to filter out dust from getting into your power supply, that doesn't mean you want to put this thing in a pile of dust. Not that I'm not saying your house is dusty. Maybe it is. Maybe you take pride in that. It doesn't matter. Keep your computer away from it. If you're going to be setting up a desk, take some time to figure out how you can place your tower somewhere on top of the desk. I mean, these are beautiful. There's a lot of RGB these days, a lot of glass, though, I would just say to pull this off. As you know, I've said it before, on the front panel if there's not enough airflow, but that's a whole other topic. They're beautiful. You can't deny that. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous piece of modern technology, and just plunking it on the floor and putting your Baja Blast cup on top of it to condensate into the delicate electronics, hardly ideal is how I'd put that. So if you can't put it on your desk, if you have a small desk, or if you're limited with space, I totally understand that. Trust me, I have had to take a long time and a lot of work maximizing the amount of space that I have here. It is smaller than it looks. It's movie magic. When I do need to place this on the floor, like I do with a test PC, I've got this. This is really beat up, and it's seen a lot of different PCs, but this cart will hold your PC. It goes wider or narrower to actually grip it well, and it can roll around. A little difficulty on carpet, but it keeps it off the carpet, so your power supply can breathe, and it's a little bit separated from the dust. Would I call that a long-term solution? No, that's just for PCs that come in and out that I'm going to be benchmarking and stress testing. For yourself, though, if you have something like a side table, something strong enough to hold up something that's 30, 40 pounds or more, depending on the size of your PC, that's going to be a great option as well, and it gives you more desk space. If that's what you're looking for, totally fine. If your desk has a compartment with a door that closes, that's not designed by someone who understands computers. Computers need fresh air. So don't put your PC in there. No floor, no enclosures, and just keep it out of the dust. In fact, maybe dust it out sometimes. Take off the side panel, get some compressed air, and just spray it out. Get the dust moving, get it out of there. No floor, no floor. No, there's no argument there. This is not a Paul, tell them, please.
Computer off floor. I've been saying it for a long time, and I'm saying it again today. Your PC should be up off the ground if you have even the smallest amount of respect for it.
Paul's Hardware, he made a whole video about it. It's not negotiable, guys. Now we're moving on to number 2. And number 2 is a doozy. There's a type of person out there, and you may be that type of person. Everyone is this type of person when they start learning something, or if they've been doing something for long enough, casually, to get to this point, but they'll say, I know just enough to get myself in trouble. Trouble is not what you want when it comes to a $1,500 to question mark number of dollars. When you have your PC on the way, you may go, if you have an older PC, you might go into it to get out something like a mechanical hard drive, right? With your old files on it, or a 2.5-inch SATA SSD. You might have some files on that storage that you want to transfer over. Of course you do. That makes total sense. However, if that's what was in your previous computer, there's something else that's on there. That's an operating system, Windows. So once you get your PC, don't just start modding it. Don't just open it up and start adding in storage, especially if that storage has an operating system on it, unless you know that you don't want to use the new operating system that came with your new computer and you want to use the old one. That can be a problem if you're going from AMD to Intel or vice versa. If you're going from Intel to Intel, it should be okay. You can actually boot up from the old operating system in the new system, and it will usually just say, hey, we're just getting info on the new hardware and it'll be working soon. That's fine. But generally, I prefer a fresh install of Windows. It'll work either way. However, if you're using an old installation of Windows, just so you don't have to reinstall all your programs and this and that, you'll find that there might be some little bugs here and there and it doesn't quite run as well as it could when it comes to gaming. It actually can mean fewer frames per second in gaming. So you want an optimized, fresh install of Windows. That's the best thing to do with the new system, and yours is going to come with it. However, if you install a drive that has been used for Windows before, the motherboard might just be like, oh, hey, that one already has Windows all configured and everything. Toss of the dice whether it's going to pick that one or the new drive. So even just modding it to take the memory that it came with and install a faster kit of memory could be a mistake. The thing is, you don't want to modify this thing at all once you've gotten it. You don't want to touch it other than to maybe open up the side panel and just double check your connections, which I showed in the video where, hey, here's what you do when you get your new PC. Just double checking that everything is seated properly and checking that your power connectors are there. That's not modding, that's just smart. However, you need to know, as the owner of this new PC, that it works as it came from the factory or from the boutique builder or whatever. They need to know that, and you need to know that. You need to boot it up successfully before you do anything to the components inside. Just make sure that in its stock form, it boots up properly, okay? And that it boots from the drive that has the new operating system installed, if you do intend to use that new operating system. Now, I do want to say, I totally am behind you guys getting more comfortable with getting inside of these, modding them, adding storage, changing RAM, doing the easy stuff, getting into the harder stuff later. But I want to tell you, once you're ready to start adding in storage or doing things like that, you do not touch anything inside this PC until you have shut it off, for one thing, obviously. And then around back, there is this switch right here. It's just a 1 and a 0. You turn it to 0. Okay, and then you unplug it completely. You do not shift or move or slot in or socket any components without doing that first. If you're trying to connect your SATA connector on an SSD and you do it a little bit crookedly, you can actually, if you do that with a power connector, you can actually short it out, destroy your SSD. It is ready to run power to these, even if it's shut off. That's why sometimes you'll see when you shut off your PC that maybe your RAM is still lit up or something like that. That's not really much reason to worry. It just shows you that, yeah, it's getting power. The motherboard is still able and capable of and willing to deliver power. Just want to make sure you guys know that before you start modding. It is critical, absolutely critical. Let's say you do plug in the power here. I have built probably well over 100 PCs in my life. And compared to the big tech YouTubers, that's maybe not a lot, but it is, in my career, I built a lot of PCs. I can't tell you how many times got it all built up, plugged in, ready to go, went to power it on, and nothing happened because it didn't flip that switch right there to the 1. Don't worry, that kind of thing happens. Just make sure you have that flip to the 1, because we're getting to the number one thing that I want you to avoid, you must not do when you get your new pre-built PC. don't panic. If something goes wrong and it's not quite working, do not panic. I've heard it all. Okay. I've heard it to where, hey, I'm not getting any picture out of the graphics card, and then the HDMI is plugged into the motherboard, not into the graphics card. You got to plug into your graphics card. That's where graphics are made. Okay? You don't, even though it has a place where you can plug it in here, don't do it. Right there, graphics card. Okay? There's things like that that can happen. And if you panic, the first thing you do is you go leave a bad review, right? No. Stop that. Don't do that. These devices, many things can go wrong. And as I've mentioned in the System Integrator Weekly videos, by the way, if you don't know, if you're just coming here to get some tips on what not to do when you get your new PC, I make videos going through a bunch of different system integrators every Sunday, you know, like iBuyPower and CyberPower PC and NZXT and all these different companies to find what they have available, find the best deals, and I help you find a deal that's going to work for you. I do that every Sunday. But I've mentioned many times that right now is a bit of a tough time in the shipping industry. They're understaffed, overworked. This is coming from some people that I know who work in the shipping industry, okay? It is rough. And that means that your package might not receive the care that it deserves. Now, I know for a fact a same-day ready system like this one from iBuyPower comes packed with Instapak that keeps your GPU in place. That doesn't matter if it's dropped off a truck necessarily and the case is crushed. Okay, these kinds of things can happen and it's awful. However, I just want you to understand that I wouldn't really recommend a place to you that would just look at that and be like, oh, it sucks to be you. No. At least for the first year, with every one of the companies that I cover, you're going to have coverage for something like that. Like it's just something just dies on you, or even if the GPU is DOA, that can happen. I want to remind you, the companies that build these do not make the parts that go into them. And I promise you, the companies that I generally talk about, they're not sitting there with like a, just like a villain mustache, just thinking, I can't wait for their PC to arrive and it doesn't work. That would be stupid and bad business. These companies are huge, and because they sell so many, there is just statistically more of a chance that one of those components might be bad. So, if that happens to you, just follow the process of getting an RMA done. Now, a return merchandise authorization, or an RMA, is just saying, hey, I want to get authorization to send this back to you guys because it's not working. And then they log it and you can track it. It goes back to them, they fix whatever's wrong with it, and they send it back to you. And hopefully everything after that is hunky-dory. I want to communicate this to you guys. We have 1,500 people in our Discord. 1,500. And many of them, because they came to the community watching my System Integrator Weekly videos, trying to find a PC, have purchased a pre-built PC. The vast majority of people who have purchased from iBuyPower, CyberPower PC, Build Redux, NZXT, Artesian Builds, Alexander PCs, all these different companies that we're covering, the vast majority had them come in perfect and work perfectly. The thing is, other than in my community, people who have that experience don't really share it. They don't share that experience in reviews on Reddit or whatever because it's expected. So I would say this to you. If your experience has been good, you got your system, everything worked, go put a review somewhere that's positive. Because this is why there are so many bad reviews. Because that's what reviews are for. To say when you had a bad experience. No. Reviews are there to get as many experiences as possible and let a company know if they're within an acceptable range of issues and that they're taking care of those issues in good time. And for other consumers to know, hey, I had an issue. The best reviews are when there is an issue and it gets fixed. Just know this, if there's an issue with your system, that company hasn't failed yet. They now have an opportunity to succeed. They can't be a good company if they never have problems. And to be fair, every single company has had some issue or another. The ones that I would say are good companies are the ones that do something about it and quickly. So all that talk though, it probably won't mean anything to you because you're probably going to get your PC and it's going to work fine. And you're going to put it on a battery backup or a UPS so that it will have perfect power at all times. And also, you're going to put it in a nice place instead of putting it on the floor. And you're also going to keep the packaging because that's just a smart thing to do. So you can move it later on and know that it's going to be safe. And you're just going to take great care of it. And you're going to mod it when the time is right. Hopefully all of this information has been helpful to you. If you guys have any questions or you want help finding your own PC, I want you to know that not only do I post videos every Sunday on YouTube, where I show you different system integrators and talk about what's good and what isn't good, I also stream every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And I help people one-on-one through a queue system, and when it's your turn, you tell me what your budget is, what you're going to do with it, and I'll help you find the right system for you, because not every system is right for everyone. And you can find me streaming at twitch.tv/Brayathorn. That's around 8 p.m. Central, Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday.